So we make the decision, we start to book artists very quietly. By the time we announced, we had, I think, 3/4 of our lineup in. But now we are having this big tug of war at the office. It's like, because we had made the decision that we wanted to exit our relationship with Capital. But I will say in life, the most important thing is timing. At that point, it's very important that it's understood, it was not my decision. Like the colleagues, the people we had grown as our interns who had now become like full-on colleagues, we had a really, intense deliberation, and we were split 50-50. The thing for me that was frustrating is that seeing that Kenyan music wasn't growing as a result of this thing. I wasn't serving the thing that I came here to do. If Antonio Sol is the opening act and not, if you have now understood that Anto is an opening act to MPESA, I'm doing something wrong. And we felt a lot of that was around the way the thing was being communicated. We also felt like the way the business, there was so much access. Our radio had so much access, and we're like, man, in this year when there's like so many problems, why don't you help us? Like bring in some of this corporate money, which is also what you guys use. To keep your radio alive. And it was like, but the terms were something so outrageous. I remember Ithaka being like 80-20, 80 for them. I'm like, but the purpose of getting the sponsorship was to pay for things. I could never get people to come around. We'd have the meetings and I couldn't get people to come around to the idea that this thing is meant to serve the Kenyan artist, then the African artist. And because you always have say, if I'm not doing well, if my business is not doing well, and you make money when I make money, so you help me make more money. So there was just, and it had already become a schlep. Let me just tell you, that's what it was. It's just like, see, this thing is there every month they have a hot artist, it's gonna work anyway, whatever. So there's no real effort on their part, and especially around Kenyan artists. I can't say this enough. So me, I had reached a point where it was like, I've done enough meetings. We've even done meetings, with the PC, and this, person who's been running the project since we got in.
Programs controller.
Yes. We're not now even at Capital. Now we're even meeting like at Mercury. Like I'm like, let us be even in a social environment so that we can like communicate with one another. And we talk, and I think that I've been understood and nothing changes. So at some point I'm like, maybe what we need to do is to just like take a break from this thing. Maybe even when they see that like there's some value in this thing, and I'm not asking for mad things. There's so much potential that we hadn't even exploited at that moment. We were just not able to. So we had already made a decision, like, okay, so this relationship is going to end. So at the point at which we served our papers, in retrospect, I can understand that it looked like we were trying to cut them out of the 2-day festival of blankets. Now, if you have never, we introduced the idea of a 2-day festival. So first and foremost, that was us. Step 2, it wasn't a 2-day festival in theory. We were like, it was the 50th, it was like 5 years of blankets. It was an anniversary which we felt like, oh my God, this thing is epic. Then people are always saying, oh January, you can't do a gig in January. Me, I had noticed from that year, 2012 in January, it was very lit. All the guys who came on the 28th of December, on like the 20th to 28th of December, didn't leave until like the 15th or like 18th of January. So Nairobi was full of bunnies who had been seeing blankets the whole year, and they're like, you guys, there's not gonna be a blankets. You guys do for us a blankets for bunnies, guy. So like, there might be a market for this bunny situation.
Let's be clear, summer bunnies.
Summer bunnies, please, okay? That was one thing. The other thing was, I think the 2 years before that, so we didn't go anywhere for New Year's. If you've ever spent New Year's in Nairobi, you know what boredom is. There's everything and nothing to do.
No traffic. It's like Corona times.
Yani, we were just like, where? We have to do something.
I'm boring.
Hey, we have to fix this. So like, okay, so now so we were going on our own intuition. We're not gonna go anywhere for New Year, so we're gonna stay in Nairobi. And there's bunnies who are going to be in Nairobi. And if we throw the hang of the year, us guys don't want to compete with you guys who want to do bashes on 31st, G1st, go ahead, do that. Us guys are saying first Sunday because the first Monday you have to go to work. So even if you were in Coastal or wherever you had gone for your holidays, you are likely to be in Nairobi by Sunday because Monday is
Jobo.
So we're like, we're all right, we're easy. we're going to do this thing 2 days. Actually, how we ended up coming with the conclusion of 2 days is because we went through our catalog, all the artists that we had brought, and we're like, man, there are so many dope artists that it would be amazing to see again. What would be our ideal programming? So whether it's like just a band, or Chris Adwa, who has like an incredible live show, or Sauti Sol, or Eric Wainaina, or Mikasa, or Mafikizolo, or anybody. We're just like, make a dream list. So we made our dream list, and our dream list couldn't fit in 1 day. So we're like, let's split this into 2 days. So it couldn't even fit in 2 days. So we're like, okay, lose some artists, okay. These ones are the critical. Can we say that these ones are moments in the culture? Yes. Everybody deserves to see these artists again. And then now we're going to do a lot of programming for DJs. So that's going to be our 2-day festival. So now, I can't remember the series of events. I don't know if we had gone live with our announcement of the artist at the point at which we handed in our letter. But I understand now as an adult, even when you want to break up with somebody, timing. Timing. Timing is everything. Had we maybe served the letter after the event, they would have understood this is we need to talk. You know, like when your baby is like, last chance before I divorce you. This other one felt like,
I'm out.
I didn't even have a discussion. I came home and found the house has been cleared out. And so it was a bit
murky.
Yeah, and a bit negative. But our contract was correct. We served our notice within time. And I remember writing and being like, when this is over, I'd be very open for us to sit and rethink this whole thing, right? Because I'm like, actually, maybe I don't want an improvement in the terms. I want a re-evaluation of terms from zero. So in my head, I'm like, it's going to be good. But how it was understood was very negatively. And then that takes me back to some years before. I want to say it must have been that year or 2011. I was at Capitol for my regular meeting. My monthly meeting. We used to have a monthly meeting. It was dope. So I was leaving the PC's office and I'm walking through the office. And Mr. Chris Kirubi, who is the chairman, I guess was on the floor that day, kicking it, sitting at the corner over there. And then somebody was like, hey, chairman, that's the girl for Blankets and Wine. Is that so? So I was like, oh, okay, cool. I walk over to the corner, shake his hand. And then he's like, this Blankets and Wine, you know, you need to make me a partner. You know the things I have done. You know the things we have done. Without us, what could you have been? And let me tell you, if you don't agree, I can just do it. You know how many boards I sit in? How much? God bears me witness. Everybody who works at Capitol at that time knew. He wasn't talking to me. He addressed the floor. He dressed me down in front of all his employees.
Yo.
So Moina, the PC, is the one who came and saved the day. I was just on the brink of tears, and then so Moina had this thing just going on, and I guess she was like, who is being given this tirade? So she came out of her office, she walked over, she listened, and I guess she just knew how to manage it. So she's like, you know, chairman, you know, how like you can get out of a conversation with your uncomfortable, when your uncle is making a conversation uncomfortable for your homie. That was my one and only interaction with Chris Kirubi in life. He threatened me in front of everybody at Capitol that if I didn't make him a partner, he can do it in a heartbeat. He knows everybody. He has the radio, he has the media, he knows the sponsors. There is nothing I can do about it. So now how I got out of it is because I was like, you know, it's interesting, but you know, partnerships, it really depends on like, there has to be a match of like, of like ethics and also of like the vision.
Values, vision, everything.
And it's like, yeah, but what would you be without the media? What would you be? Kirubi dressed me down in front of everybody. So also when you guys are just over here on Twitter, I'm just like, anyway, whatever. Congratulations, good for you guys. And then I went and called Mrs. Kabuya immediately. I'm like, yo, my business partner. I'm like, yo, Chris Kirubi just dressed me down in front of everybody. So I'm like, she's like, yo, are we protected? I'm like, yes, we David Moredi, my mentor, after throwing me out of TPF, when he wrote for me, when I was starting Blankets, I asked David to come with me to Tayana to check it out. Then he took me to coffee at Dorman's and helped me to write a business plan on a serviette. I still have the original business plan of Blankets done on a Dorman serviette. David wrote it down. David made sure, he's like, you have to make sure that you register the copyright, you have to register your trademark, you have to do, like, these are the things, these are your statutory, you cannot don't start
until you
go and do these things. That's when I knew where the Kekobo office is. It was very interesting. So we were protected, but as I was saying to Mrs. Kabuya, nothing stops him from doing it and calling it another thing, right? And he is right. He's the one he's a chairman in boards. And I bet you he doesn't even remember that incident. I do. That was a person with power and influence who had the ability to mentor me into something greater. That person should have been like, you've done very well. I'm very happy with this thing that we have built together. Why don't you come come here, let us go even sit with the PC and imagine what this thing can be in 10 years. What's your vision? How can we contribute? What do you need for us to be successful? That is what a mentor, that is what a business person, that is, na umri yako inakukataza, even like, hata ukitaka kusema kimila, umri yako inakukataza. As a senior, he's senior, he's in age. Umri yako inakukataza to have banter with young people. Your word means something.
Heavy.
And in that situation, you are the power. You are literally the owner of the radio station. You cannot threaten me in front of all your staff. You think it's banter. Me, I understood it as a threat. I'm a nobody. I come from a nobody family. I'm just a babe. You're Chris goddamn Kirupi. Often I've wondered about,
first of all, you're not a nobody, but
I
get what you're saying. Yeah.
That's a David and a Goliath.
Yeah,
right?
I get what you're saying.
And it was so unnecessary. You've never been involved in any of this thing. This thing operates because your team is dope. Your team understands what I'm doing. Like, I had the full support of like the PC, she was just like, yo, she's the one who instituted this thing for every month. Let's do a check-in. Let's try and figure it out. I wish that the things that needed to be changed, there was the same kind of proactivity in like actioning the meeting. But we always had a breakdown meeting. I always gave like clear. There was never any hiding money. This is how much we made. The money was transferred to the account. They never once asked us, have you sent your check? So the relationship was working, right? So now when we sent in our termination and we got some very nasty emails back, I was just like, first I'd already taken on a corporate and won. So I wasn't intimidated. I knew that the law was on my side. And most importantly, I was like, this is like a breakup. No matter what I say now, I'm just throwing fuel in the fire. So let me just wait and focus on the problem at hand, which is do the goddamn gig. Now you don't have the media. So are you who you say you are? We are who we say we are. Me, I remember people being like, you can't do a gig in January. I'm like, okay.
Sipsty.
Our whole office, Justine, Bonnie, Shiro, we were just like, alright. The ones who are coming are coming. The tickets went on sale. We were like, we're not crazy. We're not crazy. That was the best blankets we'd ever done. Ever. The next time we had a best blankets we've ever done like that is at Blankets 10 in 2018. That's the next time we had a blankets like that was like Magagania. Everybody pulled up. People came from Costo the day before. The sherehe, it was insane. The sherehe, ile sherehe tulikula carnival.
2 days.
Hivi. Top acts, like from saa 8, saa 10, tumeanza gig. Not filler spots, gig. Heavy hitter after heavy hitter after heavy hitter after heavy hitter after. Next day, repeat. So it was so dope. But when we finished, we were so tired. We were so emotionally like damaged. We were just like, hey.
And you did this with just social media now and word of mouth.
Yeah, and word of mouth. So all of us, we rented, and now we'd lost a lot of money. We didn't raise enough sponsorship. So we didn't make the right money on that, but it was sponsorship.
Yeah.
But I explained to you what was happening in 2013.
Yes.
So for example, had we not spent as much money as we had on the gigs in 2013, if we had downgraded our 2013 lifestyle, we would have afforded comfortably our 2014 January lifestyle. That was a Bugatti. One time for the culture. Let me tell you. One time for the culture. We could live with the consequences.
Thank God you did it. You can tell it in this story.
One time for the culture.
For the history. Oh, man. Okay, hold on.
So I can't help you with that at the moment.
What's that? Hold on. Let's change some batteries. We've been here talking for an hour and a half.